These kids today, they don't know nothing about the struggle. They don't know nothing about the struggle. They don't know enough about the struggle when we only had like 13 channels on our TV. Remember when you had that knob on your TV? You had to turn the knob to turn channels and stuff. You had to pull the button out to, turn your TV on. They don't know nothing about that. They don't know nothing about we was human remote controls when we was kids. So like, what I mean by that is there was no universal remote control to turn the TV up or turn channels. Our mom would call us from outside. We could be upstairs playing video game and we ain't have memory cards and save buttons on our Sega Genesis and Nintendos. So our mama calls us in the middle of a video game, in the middle of Sonic, to come down to get them some ice out of the freezer, turn the channel, turn the volume up. Simple things like that. We was the remote control when we was kids. They don't know nothing about the struggle. They don't know nothing about cell phones we had back in the day. See, they got these cell phones now. You can watch YouTube, Facebook, social media. You pretty much got a computer on your phone. We had flip phones where our parents bought us 500 minutes. If you was lucky, you got 500 minutes. We didn't have text messages. So when we text, our text was in a conversation. Look, we only got 500 minutes, so we abbreviate our conversations. We got to keep them real short because you ain't about to run out all my minutes. And I ain't going to get none back because my mom ain't going to re-up my minutes on my phone. So I got to let these minutes stretch. These minutes was like money. We got to make it stretch the next week. You know what I'm saying? But parents and kids don't know nothing about this today. They don't know nothing about the struggles we had. They don't know nothing about, see, these kids now, they go on World Star, they find porn and all that good stuff. And don't act like you ain't watch porn back in the day. You used to watch Channel 99 and you got those squiggly lines and stuff. They don't know nothing about that. It's just so much to them that they don't know about. It's just so much. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about how we used to watch certain channels, illegal channels. We're here to talk about how we had to turn the channel and we only had 13 channels. We're not even here to compare our lives to our children's lives. But these children still don't know about the struggles we went through. They don't know about going to the store with food stamps. Remember the book of food stamps we had? Remember when your mom used to tell you you gotta go to the store and get some lunch meat, get some potato chips or something, and she used to send you them book of food stamps? And don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about, because y'all know what I'm talking about. When your parents sent you to the store with those book of food stamps, and you hope your friends don't see you in the store, like their parents went on food stamps too. You know their parents were on food stamps, but you didn't want to get caught in the store with those food stamps. So, you acting like you forgot what your mom told you buy. You can't find that cereal that she told you get. You can't find those chips or that soda she told you get. So you just sitting there acting around, walking around waiting for everybody to clear the store so you can go buy what you want. And a lot of y'all do that to this day. Y'all go to the bathroom and y'all be in public bathrooms and y'all act like y'all using the bathroom, wash your hands, tell everybody clear out. Then you go do that number two. And it's the same situation when we went to supermarkets or to the corner store. We used to wait till everybody leaves so we could pull them food stamps out. And these kids don't know about the struggle of bringing out them food stamps. They know nothing about that because nowadays they got the EBT cards. So when they swipe their cards, they be looking like you got a credit card or something. So you can just swipe it real quick, slide in your pocket. We actually had to rip the food stamps out the book and give it to people. Then we had to show them the book and all that. So y'all don't know nothing about that. These young kids today don't know enough about the struggle. But to talk about the food stamp program, to talk about today's subject on should food stamps be banned, we have to first look back at the history of the origins of where did food stamps come from? Where did food stamps come from? And a lot of you probably looking at me like, why would you come up with the subject of what should food stamps be banned? Wasn't your mom on food stamps? Absolutely. Single moms on food stamps welfare. Give more reason for me to talk about the subject because I have first-hand account of the food stamps program and the benefits and the downfall of the food stamp program. In fact, I was one of those kids hiding in the store trying to act like I forgot my mom gave me on the grocery list because I ain't want my friends to know I was buying food stamps. I was that kid at the sub shop trying to hide my food stamps, trying to slide them to people like, trying to slide them like it was a drug deal. I was that kid. So I'm sure some of you was out there, you was that kid too, trying to hide them food stamps. But the point is, when we go back to the origins of the food stamp program, because a lot of people don't know the history of the food stamp program. The food stamp program started back in 1939. What was happening back in 1939? You may be asking. Well, the Great Depression. Have you ever heard of the Great Depression? Probably not. Probably don't care. It was one of the most harshest and horrible times in this country. It was a time where a lot of people were seeking a lot of wealth. And I'm not talking about winning the lottery. I'm talking about the stock market. People, even stock boys at a supermarket down to the bankers, was depositing, giving all their money, their life savings into the stock market with hopes of becoming rich and being able to retire early. However, when the stock market crashed, then there goes everyone's life savings, and the financial foundation of this country went into turmoil and went down the toilet, causing extreme poverty not only in urban neighborhoods but in farmlands, in rural lands, and all across the country. It was a horrible time in this country, and the perfect time to create the food stamp program, a program that was put in place to help prevent malnutrition that was going across the country and feed people. Now, this is the interesting about the food stamp program, because even today there's a lot of food stamp fraud, and we'll get into that in one subject. But the interesting thing is, when you out here buying your food stamps, you ever wonder why you pay 50 cents on a dollar of your food stamps? Well, because when the food stamp program was created back in 1939, they wasn't given to poor people. What you had to do was you actually had to go buy your food stamps. So it wasn't similar to today's food stamp program, where the government distributes your food stamps every single month to people who are low income. Back in the day, you actually had to go to a store and purchase your food stamps for 50 cents on the dollar. So you, for instance, you will buy, let's say, $10 worth of orange food stamps, and you pay 50 cents per dollar. So $10 will give you $20 worth of food stamps. Plus, you'll get some blue stamps. So you get orange stamps, blue stamps. Okay, am I confusing you? I hope not. So I'm going to break it down to you. What's the difference between orange and blue stamps? Orange stamps will allow you to purchase anything in the store. So you have a lot of interesting people right now who complain about food stamp program and that you shouldn't be able to buy steaks and certain things. Well, with orange food stamp back in 1939, you can pretty much purchase anything in the store, where the blue food stamps were for surplus, were for specific items that was on a list, an agricultural list that you could purchase with. That's where when you go out and you sit here illegally buying food stamps from somebody for 50 cents on a dollar, that's where that came from. Now, in 1944, when the economy started to right itself, blaming on the war, blaming on a lot of other things that happened, a lot of decisions that were made through the government, the economy eventually started righting itself, and the food stamp program was eliminated in 1944 and didn't make its comeback until 1961. In 1961, the food stamp program came back as a pilot program and evolved over the next few years into the program that you have today. Now, we already went to history like that. I bore y'all with the history of the food stamp program. Now let's get to the details, into the nitty gritty of should the food stamp program ban. Now, I heard from multiple different sources and different opinions about the food stamp program. So let me give you some of the background, the conversations I had off air with multiple different people from different backgrounds, from different opinions about the food stamp program. Some people think the food stamp program should be banned. Why should it be banned? Because they feel like the food stamp program is making people too reliant on the government. They're too self-reliant on government and not able to take care of themselves. Is there some truth there? You let me know in the comment section. What do I think? Yeah, there may be some truth. When we went through the government shutdown, a lot of people were trying to figure out how were they going to survive off food without their food stamps. There was a serious threat to a lot of people in this country, or poor people in this country, with the food stamp program being temporarily affected or long-term affected. We also got the President of the United States, that's right, our own President, Donald Trump, who introduced an idea of eliminating the food stamp program and creating a boxed food program, where some of the government officials would load a box up and deliver it to low-income houses for monthly food. Now, do you want a box of food? Who knows some boxes? See, a lot of us from the poor neighborhoods, like I said, these kids don't know nothing about back in the day, the struggles of back in the day, where we had the government cheese and these government foods, and it wasn't that good, the government cereal, and a lot of older people can remember that government cheese, the government cereal, the powdered milk and stuff, and trust me, nobody's trying to go back to those days. We don't want that. Other issues with the food stamp program is people feel like there's a lot of people taking advantage of the program, and it's given to people who truly don't need these benefits, and these benefits are being sold to other people and being used illegally. So they feel like, why should they have them? Then you got the people out here who work every day. That's right, the married couple, the people out here that bust their butts to make ends meet every single week, but still struggle to put food on their table, but make too much income based off the government guidelines to actually be able to get food stamps. So they are, even though they work hard every day, they are part of a restricted group who don't receive food stamps. So they feel like the food stamps program should be eliminated, or at least given out and divvied out to the people who actually work, and not to the people who they feel sit home all day and collect a paycheck. Now, how true is that? How true is that? How true is that people sit home all day and collect a paycheck and just don't do anything? Well, it depends on where you choose to look and who you choose to talk to. Now, see, I said at one point, yes, my mother was on food stamps. Yes, my mother was on welfare. I don't think she minds me saying this because my mom's not on welfare no more. She is self-reliant on herself. She takes care of herself, and she's been doing it for a very long time. One of the things I'm proud of my mom as a single mother is she got us out of the projects, off of food stamps, and even purchased her own house while being a single mother of 2 kids. I'm very proud of her. She is a success story of a person who once was on the food stamp program. However, there are other parents who just continuously live off the welfare program, live in the projects, and choose not to take advantage or grow outside these sources. Self-reliant on it. And these are the people who are subject of attacks and comments from outside sources of people who feel like they're too self-reliant on the food stamp program. What are my thoughts on it, though? What are my thoughts? Because I feel like I'm everywhere, we're going everywhere, and I'm trying to talk really fast and try to cover all this stuff because it's a lot to put into a small amount of time. My thoughts on food stamp program is very beneficial, and I don't think it should be banned. My thoughts on the food stamp program that we need to be able to not only train people who are on welfare and on food stamp program to create jobs and to give them proper training so they can go out and get jobs and be reliant on themselves, give them a skill so they can have a job where they can take care of themselves. But we also need to teach people about finances. One of the big things about me is teaching kids and people about finances. Think about this. What I always say about the lottery is it's cool if you hit the lottery, you win $420 million. That's great. But if you can't even handle $420, if you can't budget that, if you can't handle $4,000 in your account, how are you gonna handle $420 million? And that's my problem. So you're gonna give people a bunch of money who don't know how to deal with money. And then you have these people who think if they win the lottery, they get this large sum of money, that their life is going to change overnight for the better. When the reality is, if you don't know how and understand money, nothing's going to change. So if you're a poor person with bad habits and like to shop off Amazon, buy things, you're just going to be a rich person that buy and constantly buy things and waste your money and just purchase higher things. Your bills are not going to get lower. Okay, so you're struggling to pay your low bills now, you're going to struggle to pay your high bills when you get more money, because guess what? Only thing difference is you're going to go from driving that Toyota Camry to driving that brand new BMW. You're going to go from driving that Kia to driving that Escalade. That's what I'm saying to you, and that's what's going to happen to you. So just keep in mind those things. So what we need financial support, financial training for these people who are on the food stamp program, for all the people who are out here who want the food stamp program to be banned so bad. Why don't you talk about that? Why don't you campaign for that? Why don't you push for that? Teaching people financial literacy so when they get off the food stamp program that they're not illiterate on how to deal with their finances and no longer need to be dependent on the government. They need to be dependent on these government programs. Instead of trying to create a box program, create a program where we can teach people how to have skills and how to properly handle finance and create their own self-wealth. Well, we can't do that, right? We can't do that because, see, that would probably break the economy and close the gap between the rich and the poor. And we can't do that. We gotta keep that gap so we can keep certain people and feeling very comfortable about their lifestyle. Another thing we're gonna talk about is what is it called? Reparations. Okay, we got time to talk about reparations? Can we talk about reparations for a second? I know we don't have a lot of time, and I went through a lot of chatter, but can we talk about reparations for 1 minute? Because there's a lot of conversation with a lot of presidential candidates about reparations and the need for reparations for black people. But one of the issues is with reparations is when you're talking about black people is, are we truly deserving of it? A lot of people think the food stamp program and the welfare program is reparations for poor black people. But when we look at that, we got to look at the statistics of how many poor black and disenfranchised black people are out here. Well, 21% of the, according to 2018 statistics, 21% of poverty-stricken Americans are made up of African Americans. 18% of poverty-stricken Americans are made up of the people of Latino or Hispanic, Hispanic heritage. So, altogether, black and brown people make up 39% of the poverty-stricken people in this country. So, if 21% of us make up the poverty-stricken level in America, is food stamp program, is the welfare program adequate for reparations for us? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, because see, the disparity between black people and the rich people and other races is, and when I'm talking about other races, I'm talking about the Caucasian race, is we've been set back in so many different ways. We've been set back educational wise. We've been set back on opportunity to buy houses, to buy property, to invest, to create generational wealth. And the food stamp program does not increase or close that gap. It doesn't close that gap at all. The food stamp program, the welfare program does not close that gap. So how is that proper reparations? And if we're talking about 21%, what about the, 79 other percent of Black Americans? What about the other 79% of Black Americans? Are we truly giving them the proper reparations that they deserve? Or are we sitting here saying, well, you don't deserve it because we only give it some? When we talk about reparations, it's a deeper conversation, but we got to have that on another day or another subject because I don't want to lose sight of what we're here to talk about today. The food stamp program is so important. There's a reason they brought it back. There's a reason we brought it back. See, we often forget about our history in the Great Depression. We forget about that there's so many people out here starving right now. That the minimum wage is so low that a lot of people cannot afford housing. And housing is going up so much that people will have to actually choose whether they want to pay their bills and pay their rent or feed their children. Without the food stamp program, imagine how many people will actually starve out here. How many million Americans actually rely on the food stamp program? Think about this for a second. If race is what's driving you by this, think about how many senior citizens depend on the food stamp program. How many other Americans outside the African American community or Latino community depend on the food stamp program. Just imagine how much poverty would be stricken and how much starvation would be. How many children rely on this and how many children every year go to bed, go home starving, go to school starving. Think about that and have a heart. Think about your moral compass when you talk about banning the food stamp program, but also think about the history and acknowledge and recognize the history of the food stamp program and why it is in existence. Now, we know there's people who take advantage of it. We know there's people who don't truly need the food stamps. And we know that some of us working Americans would love to be a part of it. But if we learned financial literacy, I think it will close the gap in that need for the food stamp program for not only poor Americans, but us Americans who go out here and work every day. Getting that literacy, that financial literacy, will improve our tactics and our ability to be able to budget and truly make ourselves enough money to cover our food expenses as well as having the money to do other leisures, vacation, anything else you want to do. So what is my thoughts on the food stamp program in closing? I don't think it should be banned. In fact, I think we need more education to people who are in these programs so they can create financial literacy and create their ultimate wealth. I told you a story about my mom and how she came from being on welfare and food stamps to buying her own house. And I feel like there's so many other Americans can create a success stories given the proper opportunity to learn. I want to hear from you and what you think about this show and this subject. Should food stamps be banned or should they not? If you think they should or you don't think they should, please comment below. Hit me up at Past Present, Facebook. Hit me on Instagram, Alan the Great. Let me know what you think about today's show. Let me hear what you got to say about today's subject. I want to thank you for being here with me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your way out. Also, don't forget to ring those bells so that you get notifications for every time a new show is uploaded. I want to thank you for being here with me. Went over time a little bit this week, but it's time to go. Gotta roll. I love you as always. And before I go, I got one last thing to say to you. Stay tuned. Peace.